That is why government integrity and social justice are not luxuries. They are the bedrock of any lasting independence. Asterisk. Integrity in governance means more than the absence of corruption. It means a commitment to serve the people before oneself, to treat public office not as a privilege but as a responsibility. When leaders enrich themselves while their people starve, they reproduce the same exploitation once carried out by colonial rulers, only this time under a national flag. The betrayal feels even deeper because it comes from those who promised liberation and social justice, meanwhile ensures that freedom is not confined to elites. True independence must reach the farmer in the village, the worker in the factory, the child in the classroom, and the patient in the hospital. When inequality widens, when wealth is concentrated in the hands of a few, independence becomes hollow. Justice is the bridge that connects political freedom to everyday dignity. Consider healthcare and education. A nation cannot speak of sovereignty if its citizens die from preventable diseases or if its children grow up without the tools to think critically and build the future. Leaders like Thomas Sankara understood this. During his brief rule, vaccination campaigns saved thousands of lives, and literacy programs empowered ordinary people. These were not just social policies, they were acts of liberation. Because when citizens are healthy and educated, they are less vulnerable to manipulation, more capable of self-reliance, and more confident in their identity. Integrity also means transparency. Governments must be accountable not only to international lenders or foreign observers, but, most importantly, to their own people. Budgets should be public, contracts should be scrutinized, and citizens should have the right to question decisions without fear. When governments operate in secrecy, corruption flourishes. When they operate in the open, trust grows. Yet, pursuing integrity and justice is not without challenges. Corruption networks run deep, often intertwined with global systems of exploitation. Breaking them requires courage, strong institutions, and the active participation of civil society. It requires leaders willing to sacrifice personal comfort for the sake of national dignity. It requires a culture where corruption is not normalized but condemned. Social justice also demands redistribution. Africa is rich in resources, but the wealth often bypasses the majority. Land reforms, fair wages, gender equality, and opportunities for youth are not optional, they are essential for building nations that truly reflect the dreams of their people. Without them, frustration grows, and the gap between the rulers and the ruled becomes a breeding ground for instability. At its heart, government integrity and social justice are about restoring trust. When people believe their leaders are honest, when they see that resources are used for the public good, they are willing to endure hardship and contribute to national progress. But when they see dishonesty, waste, and inequality, cynicism takes root, and even the most inspiring movements lose momentum. The African struggle, then, is not only against external domination but also against internal betrayal. Integrity and justice are the shields that protect freedom from decay. Without them, independence is only a change of flag. With them, independence becomes a living reality, rooted in dignity, equality, and hope. Africa is the youngest continent in the world. More than 60% of its population is under the age of 25. This demographic reality is not just a statistic, it is a historical force. The youth of Africa are not merely the leaders of tomorrow. They are the energy of today. If harnessed, this energy can propel entire nations toward progress. If ignored, it can fuel frustration, instability, and conflict. That is why youth engagement is at the very heart of Africa's liberation journey. The Sahel region offers a vivid example of this truth. Stretching across countries like Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger, the Sahel has long been described by outsiders as a zone of instability, terrorism, and poverty. But within these lands, something new is emerging: the Alliance of Sahel States, AES. This alliance, formed by governments determined to break free from old colonial ties, has found its greatest source of strength in the support of young people. For decades, Africa's youth in the Sahel were told that their future lay outside their homelands, that migration to Europe was the only escape, or that joining extremist groups was the only path to dignity. But today, that narrative is being challenged. Through the ACE, leaders are inviting young people to see themselves as stakeholders in a new regional identity. This is not just about security cooperation among states, it is about building a community of destiny. Youth engagement takes many forms. In cities, young activists are using art, music, and digital platforms to express their vision of sovereignty. In villages, young farmers and entrepreneurs are experimenting with new ways to cultivate land, trade, and organize cooperatives. Across borders, young scholars and workers are pushing for integration that allows them to share resources, knowledge, and opportunities. The ES provides a political umbrella under which this youthful dynamism can flourish. But for engagement to be real, it must go beyond symbolism. Too often, governments praise the youth while excluding them from decision-making. True engagement means giving young people a seat at the table not as tokens, but as partners. It means creating policies that reflect their aspirations, quality education, talent matching employment, and participatory platforms in governance. It means trusting them with responsibility and recognizing that innovation often comes from the courage of the young. The Alliance of Sahel States, ES, by uniting states that share common struggles, also offers young people a sense of belonging to something larger than their village or nation. This regional solidarity counters the fragmentation imposed by colonial borders. It tells the youth, your struggle is not isolated. It is part of a broader movement for dignity across the Sahel and by extension across Africa. Still, challenges remain. High unemployment, poor infrastructure, and external pressures continue to weigh heavily on young populations. If these challenges are not addressed, disillusionment could erode the momentum of the AES, but if leaders prioritize youth empowerment, the alliance could transform into a model for other regions, proof that Africa's strength lies in the hands of its youngest citizens. Ultimately, youth engagement is not just a demographic necessity. It is a moral imperative. The African dream cannot be built on the sidelines of its largest population group. The AES has taken a bold step by positioning itself as a platform of sovereignty, unity, and renewal. Its true success, however, will depend on whether it can channel the passion, creativity, and courage of its youth into lasting institutions and real opportunities. The future of Africa will not be written by old colonial powers. It will be written by its young people, whether in the streets of Ouagadougou, the villages of Niger, or the classrooms of Bamako. And through the AES, that future is beginning to take shape. Not as a story of dependency, but as a story of self-determination. In the modern world, wars are no longer fought only with weapons. They are fought with words, images, and narratives. Media have become a battlefield where truth and lies collide, where perceptions can be as powerful as bullets, and where the control of information can determine the fate of nations. For Africa, mastering a media and information strategy is no longer optional. It is essential for sovereignty. For too long, Africa's story has been told by outsiders. International news networks portray the continent through a lens of crisis, wars, famine, corruption, and instability. Rarely do they highlight Africa's resilience, creativity, or victories. This imbalance is not an accident, serves a purpose. By constantly depicting Africa as weak and dependent, external powers justify their own interference, presenting themselves as saviors. This is narrative domination, and it is as dangerous as economic or military domination. A genuine information strategy begins with reclaiming the narrative. African nations must build their own media platforms, invest in independent journalism, and train young storytellers who can reflect the continent's reality. This means highlighting stories of innovation, cultural richness, economic progress, and grassroots movements. When citizens see their struggles and successes represented with dignity, they gain confidence. When the world sees Africa speaking in its own voice, stereotypes begin to crumble. Digital platforms have created new opportunities. Social media, podcasts, and online video channels allow Africans to bypass traditional gatekeepers and speak directly to global audiences. Youth movements in the Sahel, for example, have used these platforms to mobilize protests, spread awareness, and challenge disinformation. But digital freedom comes with risks, surveillance, manipulation, and the flood of fake news. That is why media strategy must also include education in digital literacy, teaching citizens to recognize propaganda, verify sources, and think critically.